Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
All right, so it is 6:30. Should we begin?
Yeah, let's talk about Quicksilver.
All right.
He's always upset and grumpy with people, and I get it. Because, he's so fast that to him, everybody else is just like taking their time. It's like the people who don't drive when the light turns green, the people who don't work fast at the ATM, like they're doing deposits instead of getting money out. Like, that's the whole world to him all the time. Same for Mr. Terrific. Like, he seems real short and angry with people because everyone is a blithering idiot to him. It's amazing that he could even be polite to them, let alone, not be Lex Luthor. I get it too. Everyone's an idiot. How can you like them? Is that our topic today? Is that what we're talking about?
No, but Alex, just so you know, I told Matthew that we're going to be careful about jokes because of the topic tonight. And I think instead of making inappropriate jokes, he decided to make off-topic jokes.
He made an off-topic joke because
anytime
he wanted
feels like
to do an appropriate one.
Anytime he's going to find through this whole podcast that we're getting too serious and we need like a little bit of levity, he's going to start talking about Quicksilver or Flash or something, which I'm fine with. But let's dive in.
Let's talk Max Mercury for a bit. Oh no, go ahead.
I don't know who Max Mercury is. All right. So, tonight's topic, I wanted to talk. So, let me give a little bit of a disclaimer, I guess, before we dive fully into the topic. I cut a bunch, not a bunch. I cut a few minutes
40
out
minutes
of
out of the 45-minute podcast
out of last week's episode because we recorded last Monday before the world. Found it. Well, before it had happened, the Charlie
we don't
Kirk
know what
stuff.
it is.
Before the Charlie Kirk assassination happened, we shot.
Is it really an assassination? though? It's a murder.
I mean, I know that they're saying that, but
He's not a political person. He's a political person. He's not political.
He's not a
he wasn't an elected leader.
Okay, but Martin Luther King was an assassination, and he wasn't a political figure. He had a
assassination's fine then.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how I see it. Yeah,
I know that people don't.
It's semantics anyway. Go on.
Anyway,
this
is how he's going to make
the
jokes.
TikTok generation says the unaliving.
Yeah. So we recorded before the assassination. We had made one reference to a thing that had come up with him from a week or so earlier. I think that if we had posted that 6 months ago and nothing, it wouldn't even be controversial. But in the wake of what was going on, I was like, this might just seem, especially because I know how our clips, I don't plan on making any clips of this episode, by the way, because I've seen on TikTok how people just take out of context the small bit that we already
phrase.
Yeah, and they can't understand. So I think we need to do that. But we took out I wouldn't even say a joke. It was like a bit where we talked about.
I wish I could remember what we did from week to week, because I have no idea what it was. You texted, "Is it okay if I take out this part?" I'm like, "But I guess whatever you're talking about."
Honestly, it wasn't that controversial. It just was. It felt like it would be in poor taste because it was coming out, even though we recorded it before. It was coming out.
It was coming
the day after he was killed. So I didn't or unalived or whatever that you got to say. So I didn't want to leave it in because here's the thing, I am not going to be the person policing everybody's speech about this, but that doesn't mean I necessarily am going to contribute in that way to it.
Fair. Okay.
And I have complicated feelings on how we talk about people after they have passed. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight. I will also say that in the day, either the day after or 2 days after, I'm losing a little bit of track of time here. Sarah went up to Massachusetts because her grandfather was going to pass away. Then he did pass away. And so Logan and I had some talks this weekend because we were down here waiting to see if we were going to be heading up for a funeral or whatever. And Logan and I talked because Logan's seen clips of the news and heard clips of the news, and he saw his great grandfather, and we talked about it. And so I had what I think is an important talk with him, and I kind of thought, oh, this might be good for us to talk about here on the episode. So I'll give you a quick version of what I told him, which is I don't think, for me personally, and I don't think for Logan personally, it's a good psychological thing for us to be happy about someone's death. And so I told him that, because I know that he was hearing clips and people are talking, and there's, if I'm scrolling, people are saying things that are very, wide range of emotions about Charlie Kirk's death, and I may not even know it's a Charlie Kirk video until it comes up. So I wanted to talk to him about, like, we don't have to be happy about someone's death. And then I told him, but there is a difference between happy and relieved, and that some people are going to be relieved by this, and I can't fault them for that, because I think that when you're talking about someone there's a bunch of reasons why you may feel relieved by someone's death. It could be someone you loved and they're suffering for a long time. To some extent, Matthew, I think that's probably something you felt with your father from what you described. Because he was suffering for a while, right? Like with the...
He was not in extreme suffering, but his life had not been of any quality for a year.
Yeah. So there's some sense of relief there, even if it's not the same kind of thing.
And more, it was relief from my mother, who has been much better health, not having to take care of him for the last year.
Yeah,
like
quality of life. Yeah.
So I told Logan about that. I said, his great grandfather was not suffering for very long. He got COVID, got pneumonia, and then passed.
He got the COVID vaccine
pretty quickly. Yeah, he was vaccinated.
So that's what gave him pneumonia.
Yeah, let's do everything we can to get this video blocked, okay? So I, but if we saw him the first week of August, I think it was, and he was 95 years old, and he looked like he could have made it to 100. So, like, a different circumstance. But I told Logan, I said, sometimes it is a relief. I said, my grandmother's brother was suffering from cancer for years and was in agony, and so it's a relief at that point for that person. And I said, and also sometimes, going back to Charlie Kirk and how Logan was hearing about that a lot, I said, there are people who felt, and I said, and I would agree with them that he made their lives more difficult and potentially worse. I said, I would agree with that. And so if they're relieved, I understand that, because I don't want to tell Logan, like, hey, I actually believe that it's not a good thing to be happy about. For me, like, psychologically, I don't think it's a good thing to be happy about someone's death. But I also,
Christian, in which case you think they went to heaven, and then you should.
Yeah, well, that's true. So that's where I started with that. So that's where I kind of want to, like, I think there's a lot of branches we can go off from there. I will say, like, as far as the happiness thing, I don't want to police people's emotions on this, because I personally think it's kind of like, whether or not you're happy about someone dying who maybe made your life worse, to me that's kind of like when white people are like, I don't think anyone should say the N-word. It's like, well, it's not up to me to decide that is up to you how to decide. Not to mention that we don't decide our emotions, but we can try to adjust them, but we don't decide them. So that's where I wanted to get started with this.
I think those of you who are watching live, if you can become a patron right now, if you're not, you can get the episode that dropped today for patrons, which will drop on Friday for everyone else. Those of you who are not watching live, it already dropped, obviously, because that's how time works. Yep. Our topic for the episode that drops this week was, does the ends justify the means, and in what cases does it, when does it not? And I think this is one of those, to me, that's how I feel about this situation is, I think the world is a better place without Charlie Kirk. I think America is better for it. People are safer. The discourse may not get much better because people will fill his void, but it's certainly not going to, it's certainly good to get his voice gone. However, that's an ends that did not justify the means that anybody had a right to end his life. Like, nobody had the right to end his life to make the world a better place.
So I want to push back just a little bit on that. So I think that I understand what you're saying, and I do think he made the world worse. I think that is something that I absolutely agree with. I do think that the way in which he's no longer here may not only by means, but also the ends that come from that are also questionable.
Right. Well, that's why I don't support the means that were done, because it has negative. Well, for multiple reasons. One, you just don't have the right to end someone else's life
Right.
ever. Bodily autonomy does not allow for that in any situation, period.
Yeah.
In addition, doing it the way it happened has caused more stress and turmoil in the short term than if it hadn't happened.
Yeah.
Can't tell what the long term is. Long term might be worse, right? Might radicalize more people because it happened. Though that would be odd, considering it seems like he was killed by someone to the right of him for not being horrible enough. It seems like at this point that could change.
So assuming for a second that that the current thing is true, that it is somebody who is further right than he is.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that's what it is, and I agree that that's, to some extent, I think that might make things worse too, in the sense that, not that I think it would be better if it was a leftist or somebody to the left, but like, you got to think about, there are going to be certain people who are in a similar situation to Charlie Kirk who may change behavior out of fear.
Yeah.
Regardless of, but the way that they change their behavior due to fear may change based on the motivation.
Yeah.
So like this may actually
people may
this may make some other pundits more right-wing pundits more extreme.
The person who fills his void may be worse than him. I mean,
right?
It's definitely possible.
Right.
But I'm saying, but people like, are you happy Charlie Kirk is dead? I'm not happy he was killed. Am I happy that his voice is not in the conversation anymore? Yes, one less Nazi voice.
Yeah,
good.
So that's just like, to me, that sounds like a version of relief. That is like the,
But I don't know. It's not even emotional though. Like it's not an emotional response. It's just an analysis of the situation response. Like, I don't know him, so I don't have an emotion. I know him to the extent of seeing a handful of clips of him being an asshole to college students and being smug and thinking he won an argument by gish galloping over someone so they couldn't get their point across. Or by just moving the goalpost or changing the subject or asking them, like he did with Ted Cruz kind of thing, just asking an irrelevant question that couldn't be answered, then to, I win the argument. So I don't really know him well enough to have an emotional care about him. It's purely in the spectrum of the world response that I have.
Yes, So
I certainly didn't like go, yay, I'm happy. I was hoping that would happen this week. That wasn't on my bingo card,
Yeah. And that's part of when I say the joy thing or the happiness thing, I also think it's psychologically not great for us to wish for someone's death. Like, I think that ultimately when you're wishing for someone's death, again, this is different if you have somebody who is in agony. Like, that's not what I'm talking about right now. But like,
if someone is actively hurting you, hurting you, there are times, like in a self-defense situation. But even that, most people who have to harm someone severely or even to death in self-defense are not happy they did it afterwards. They're traumatic,
relieved at best.
No, they usually have PTSD from the situation. Like it's not even a positive.
Let me pull up my notes because I did take some notes on things I wanted to talk about.
But you did. I say in your notes you had a thing of relating it to the death penalty, being anti-death penalty because you believe in possibility for redemption. And I would say I would rather have the reason that Charlie Kirk doesn't have a negative voice in the world is because he had an emotional awakening and rebirth, and said what I was saying was wrong. I was doing it for the clicks, and that was wrong. And and I'm better for it. Become a positive thing. That would have been a better making him a positive, proving him wrong, as he always said, would have been a better outcome than ending him.
Well, and he was a young man. Like, whether or not we think that he would have changed, I don't know. But he was 32? 31? Almost 30?
I think 31 from the recording.
Okay. He was 31. So, like, he had a chance to, there was a time if he had lived that they could have changed. And I will say this, like, if this had happened, but he had survived, we don't know. Like, maybe that would have been the thing that,
when I got shot, I realized maybe people getting shot isn't worth it.
Yeah. Or, or whatever it is. And like that would, he, whether we liked him or not, he was very good at getting people riled up. And so if he could have been, I feel like the emperor, the way I'm saying this, but like if he could have been turned to our side, like he could have been, I've seen
I know a number of like YouTube pundits and radio personalities who were once on the other side and are vehemently loud voices on what I think is a better side now. So it definitely could have happened, especially with age and with mellowing, or the usual thing that happens. Something happens that personally affects him, and then or a family member, and then for the first time, he doesn't have to have empathy because it's happening to him. And
yeah. I mean, and I so I like that's another side of it. Like we've talked about it on
restorative justice. I would rather have had him improve than be taken off the
absolutely.
Right.
I mean, under very few people's circumstances would he have been like eligible for the death penalty under anyway. But like I'm not in favor of the death penalty in
I don't know
general.
about Alex, but 2 out of 3 of us are against it. Alex, where are you on death? I don't know where you are on death penalty.
He was on the death penalty episode, or at least he was producing back then. I'm pretty sure he's on basically the same page as us.
Yeah,
there might be a little
restorative over retaliatory. So
yeah. I'm saying if there's any organization I don't trust to decide who lives and dies, it's the government.
It's the government.
Yeah.
My biggest concern with his passing, and I felt this way when any of these major political or politically charged events have happened, the concern of mine becomes it's just a turned up to 11 version of being deplatformed. So it allows the affected party, whoever that happens to be, party as in people, not political. It allows the affected party
people.
It allows them to become the ultimate martyr. Yeah. And when it happened, because I've been around enough weapons to know that the poor gentleman was not living whatever happened to him, period. After I saw it, I turned to Holly, my wife, and said, this is not going to go well, because now they have something to be openly angry about, not just passively yakety yak talking angry about. Now they have an event, like a landmark case that can be referred to. Oh, you remember on the 10th of September when when Charlie was killed? I was like, yeah, I was home. I remember. I watched it happen. Yeah. And then, oh yeah, did you also remember that there was a school shooting about an hour after that? Oh, you didn't? Because that overshadowed it. And Holly did not quite understand the gravity of it yet, because I was saying, no, the big issue here is that all of these folks are now going to feel that much more emboldened. You thought their guardrails were off already? Now they're really off. So I am a risk averse.
Pulled it back a little bit now that it looks like it was their side that did it.
Fair.
They have pulled back a little bit at this point, and again, that's at this point. Yeah. We don't know what the future holds.
But they still are grasping at straws. Like, oh, there was a picture of a.
He knew a trans person. He drove a Trans Am once.
Trans Am.
He earlier that day he had a transaction. Like, I understand that. I don't think it's going to matter who is what is anything. We could never find who killed him, and the result would still be the same. He has passed. True. He was a loud voice. He was nothing more than, I'm not trying to be rude, the three of us. He was an influencer. He was a highly politically connected and paid for talking head, period. End of conversation. He's influence. He had a lot of influence. I think the three of us do. But it's not going to change. There are a group of people that now feel that much stronger in their beliefs than they did a few days ago, right? And our current administration's reaction to it is even more alarming, because it is aggrandizing the entire event rather than helping find its place. Yeah. Not even de-escalate. I'm not going to say it wasn't a big deal.
I don't mean de-escalate. I don't mean de-escalate in the sense of downgrade
the response.
I mean, de-escalate the temperature of the country.
Thank you. Sorry. Yes.
That's what I mean by de-escalate.
I've seen things where it's hurting Trump now because he was impassioned and said what you'd expect a friend of Charlie Kirk's to say, when it happened. And then, like 2 days
The next
later,
day.
someone asked him how he feels, and he was like, "Hey, did you see they're building the ballroom? Things are going great." Like, it just the fact that he doesn't really give a shit, and he was just pretending that he cared. If he even remembered who Charlie Kirk was at 30 seconds after the last time he saw him, that has come through so obviously in the last couple of days that there's people on the right who are furious with his response now, which is delightful. That he may actually had this opportunity to parlay it, like you say, into a martyrdom for the cause. And Trump has fumbled that completely.
Agreed.
I also sorry, I was going to say in regards to what Alex was saying before, but like I think that you said like no matter what no matter what happened after that point, this was gonna, whether it was a lefty or a right,
wouldn't matter to me.
righty,
it
was going to end up having essentially the same impact now, and I think that's absolutely true because we're going to scapegoat minorities like that. At first it was
the same, because in the first few days it was we should have civil war, and now it's like, well, a leftist would have done it. It's definitely not the same, because what was happening in the first 2 days is not what's happening now.
It's still de-escalating still, though, because I think that I still am hearing people talking about he had a trans roommate or he
but they're grasping at straws now where they were grasping at their guns previously. Like it's not the same as it was.
Sure, but they are still scapegoating minorities in that process.
A handful of people are trying to, but it's not the way. In the days after, they were all up in arms together. The entire anyone right of us was doing it, and now it's the far right is doing it, and everyone else is like, "Oh shit, how'd this happen?"
No, true.
I mean, even like Nancy Mace, who switched from "we need the death penalty," this is why
the liberals
switched
own
to
this.
we should pray for this poor guy who lost his way and did this horrible thing. We should all forgive him and pray for him because he's a white Christian. And that's she's a bellwether for how a lot of those people feel. Like as soon as they realized it was one of them, it wasn't such a bad crime anymore. It was we should understand it now.
I think she's a ding dong is not.
He was luck pilled improperly. Not his fault. He did it.
Here is what I know is going to be consistent, and I know that this is what it sounds like in the Cravat household right now, is that at no point is the conversation going to be about, well, how did he get his hands on such a weapon so easily, transport it there, use it, and then escape for a time being? Like the tool is never going to be part of the conversation. But the tool was very much a part of the conversation for every other school shooting that I remember earlier this year. So in all those situations, the weapon and the caliber and
on the left it was.
Yes, absolutely.
But on the right, they would absolutely deny that the gun had anything to do with it.
Well, okay.
And I think that
the right always says it's not the time to talk about gun reform. That had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Everyone, he would get a gun illegally if he needed to. It doesn't make a difference. Even if you never made a gun, he would magically have one.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the fact that this was some people are saying this was not a difficult shot, and some people are saying this was a very difficult shot. I will say that I don't know because I am not a gun person.
I am, and I could have hit that, but not as reliably. How about that?
You don't know if it's reliable. I mean, maybe there's a guy who would only hit that shot 1 out of 10 times, and this was the one time.
No, fair enough.
Well,
so
there's only one bullet.
I watched a military person, lefty military person, who said that he's like a 200-yard shot isn't necessarily that difficult, but a 200-yard shot with the pressure of doing it once in the moment, I guess he had to get under the tent, over the crowd, narrowed the scope of there was enough detail where he was like, this is not just a 200-yard shot.
No, there's other challenges, and I've shot at that distance before, but I have not ever done it with a lot of intentional difficulty in the way.
Yeah.
And I was also lying prone with a bipod. I had so again, the tool is never really going to be part of the conversation. This could have happened with a blow dart, and we're never going to talk about how this person shouldn't have been able to get a blow dart.
It's
never going to be that.
It's two different conversations in this case, because if you're going to say it's an assassination, then the reasons are more important than the way you did it, because you can find a way to do it. Versus a school shooting where the reason is not the important thing; it's the accessibility of weapons. I mean,
and sometimes it's the amount of casualties.
What I heard was he did, bring the gun there in advance and hide it like a days in advance. Is what I heard. I don't know if that's accurate, but I heard that that he had pre-planned enough that the gun was already there. Like that's how he got the gun there. He hid it there, knowing he was going to do it, and went there where his gun was waiting, so he didn't have to be seen with the gun.
Well, he was in an open carry state on a carry allowed campus.
Right.
In a Republican,
it's not hard to bring a weapon on there.
Right.
They have carry allowed campuses. That seems
and
crazy.
That is one of them.
Recently in Utah, it's a recent law,
and that is one of them. Yep.
Yeah.
Concealed at that.
Yeah, I do want to
I think it was. It has to be concealed on campus.
On campus,
can't be open.
Which sounds
on campus, you should hide it so you don't intimidate anybody.
Which sounds so much more insane. No. When there's other innocent people around, you have to not show you've got what?
Massachusetts is conceal only for non-cops, I believe. Basically, anybody that's not a cop, it's conceal only. And the reason being is that you're not brandishing and you're not intimidating with the gun. And so there is a logic to it. And to me, that was what, I won't say I grew up around it, because I didn't really think about guns until like I was an adult and started having friends who had guns, because like my dad never had guns, and my uncles that have guns didn't ever talk to me about guns. So like, it's not something I was thinking about until I was an adult, and I had friends who were like getting their licenses and stuff. And they would explain to me, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess that does make sense. Especially, I would imagine, as a non-gun person, concealed carry also probably limits the size of the gun.
It entirely does.
So like, that might be a good thing as well. Yeah. Like like, not to say that you can't do a lot of damage with I almost said a revolver, which sounds like
pistol,
a Western,
1970s
like any kind of
pistol or handgun. Yeah.
Go ahead, punk. But like, so like it, there is, I don't know, there is a logic to that I kind of understand. If you're already under the conclusion that we have to have guns. Which is
I'll just say on the flip side of it, I would like to know you have a gun, because I will get up and leave the establishment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Without paying my bill. You let them in here with a gun. I don't want to be in here.
Correct.
Because I don't know what they're going to do with it. They're going to leave it holstered the entire time and have a happy meal, or start shooting their spouse. I don't know which one. I don't want to find out. Yeah. So I would like to know you have a gun so I can leave the building.
Which is why I think
that also has its own logic.
Yeah, which is why I think.
But like, it's kind of, it's sometimes it's the logic that you're explained first that just kind of like clicks.
Yeah,
and then once you hear the other,
I don't think my argument or the other argument is automatically right, when I think it's an argument that could be had. There are reasons on both sides. It's fair to have. They're both fair reasons on both sides.
So now that we have a group of emboldened folks that are, yes, relatively extremist in their views, my concern, as I was mentioning to Holly, is now, so you hold dearly to extremism views. Now I have to trust that as a grown adult, or maybe not such a grown adult, you are going to not carry those out in an extremist fashion. Because and I think I've been on this very podcast saying it before, extremism is always bad. I don't care how you vote or feel. There is never a situation that an extremist view didn't cause change. Not good or bad, just change. So I have this concern that as an individual who has an online presence, am I now concerned that I can and can't criticize something? And I'm not saying that I've ever felt censorship here or anywhere else. No, in fact, our CAN credentialing goes out of its way.
With censorship.
Huh?
This is the first episode I've imposed censorship on you too.
Fair. No, correct. You have. So for me, I'm not concerned of what I feel, because I had my super angry, moody time last week. But now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on a plane and at a Jewish wedding in a week's time. And then I'm getting on another plane to go to San Diego in October. So I'm a little concerned about traveling, not necessarily driving around North Carolina. Like, I'm not super worried about that.
Not because you're an online presence, right? Just in
No.
general.
Well,
because like you said the thing about online presence, and I look at our numbers, I think that there's a lot of work being done by those words online presence, because
fair. No,
right? Well, especially because this is not our focus. Like I heard
okay,
the one sentence you said on one episode,
focus, but more importantly, there is a very easy to find URL that is scraping and collecting social media interaction mentioning his death.
They took it down today.
I know,
or yesterday.
But it existed, which means if it existed, it was doing something. And the connections that that Mr. Kirk had with all of these very nanny state watching you kind of people do. I'm looking at you, Mr. Teal. There is a big belief of mine
and he's looking at you.
Huh?
And Mr. Teal is looking at you.
Absolutely. And I already have the Department of HHS, because I have an autism diagnosis, thinking I'm on a list. Now let's go ahead and as a person who has no issue with having firearms, never have, I'm now thinking, well, I'm not going to change my stance on that, but I'm genuinely a little more aware of my surroundings now than I have been in years.
Because we had to have a conversation that we haven't had on that in that regard.
Huh?
You can finish your because, but we had a conversation in that realm this weekend.
Yeah, because I've never genuinely thought, okay, I don't feel safe because someone died, but at the same time, extremists are going to always have big outcomes. They just will. And I don't think we're at the point that it's going to start swinging into the empathy direction. I think it's still in the anger zone now. And based on his widow, Mrs. Kirk's address that she gave, it doesn't sound. It sounds like retaliatory justice, and
she's calling for violence.
Yeah, and that's that. Speaking of our topic, the wake of a death, like that is scary to me. Obviously, less so as a white male. I'm not going to. I'm not going to try to downplay my my race, my gender, or my stance in life, but say, Matthew, your wife, or your daughter, or my wife, like these are not the same kind of people as us.
So Saturday, my daughter put on a T-shirt with a big target on it. No, she actually dressed very nicely because there was a candidates forum for the candidates for the Apex Town Council, and she was the MC. So she was up on stage with people of across parties. It was not a partisan event. It was put on by a nonpartisan pro-democracy group who had invited all the candidates. But she was front and center in a political event as a brown woman on the stage. And it was the first time we ever had a conversation about, is it safe for her to go do this? And because the conversation shifted before that event from some lefty, pick every marginalized adjective they threw out there, did it to, looks like the calls came from within the house. We felt it was fine for her to go out and do it. And the nature of the event was nonpartisan, blah, blah, blah. But it definitely could have been a situation where if things had continued to ramp up over the days prior to it, instead of peaking and coming back down, we had conversations on whether it was safe for her to go up there and be on stage, center stage.
Yeah.
She did a wonderful job. Thank you for asking.
I was actually going to ask how it went, genuinely.
It didn't go great, but she did a wonderful job.
I want to talk about Charlie's wife for a second, because I didn't watch the whole clip.
Here, I need to get my finger on the mute button. Hold on, because
I will say things. Okay. I was going to say, I have nothing bad to say, because I only watched the first couple minutes, because the first couple minutes are just thank you to the people supporting us. And then I was like, okay, well, no offense. I didn't care to hear the thank yous. And I just assumed she was just like, thank you for supporting me. I wasn't not watching it for any like disrespectful reason, or I just was like, okay, there's nothing of importance here. I didn't know until you just said that. I've been hearing people say bad things about her, but to some extent I was wondering if they were just like, she's married to that guy, so I don't like him, I don't like her. And the one thing that I saw, the one quote or the one thing I saw posted that personally I thought was too far was kind of a call for violence against her, saying that like if they harm her, that the children could be raised right after that. And so I thought that was disgusting.
Oh, that is vile.
But I didn't know also that apparently you guys said you think it sounded like she was calling for violence.
Absolutely.
So okay, so to me, I don't assume that someone's bad because I don't like their spouse.
No,
I don't want someone to assume Sarah is bad because they hate me. They may very rightfully hate me, but Sarah's good. So I try to extend that. And the same thing with the kids. Like I don't want anybody judging my son because of me.
Yeah.
And so I try to extend that to other people. And I know that right now, especially, you have people where, like someone might say like, oh yeah, like I love this person, my, brother, but they're a left-wing nut job, a right-wing nut job. Like I hate to bring up the Civil War, but like it is that like brother, there is a so severely fractionized bit of it that I really try to judge you for you. And like I would never judge Holly or Madhavi based on you two. And so I was trying to extend the same thing to her. Now I will.
No, and I did as well, because I thought how you speak and what you say is going to determine my level of empathy and my level of understanding to your situation. And when speaking of our CAN credentialing again, when we went through our Creator Accountability Network credentialing procedures, and the focus was so just steadfast on restorative justice, not necessarily focusing on someone has to suffer as much as you did, but more what brings genuine closure to all parties involved. And also in the restorative arc, make sure that this gets diminished or nipped before it even becomes a problem, kind of thing, right? And I believe the only genuine innocents in this are his children. And the reason I believe that is because, I mean, look at Mrs. Vance, right? Mm-hmm. Usha is a grown adult. She knows how weird her husband is. She knows everything he does for work. And if she doesn't, they own a television. It's not too hard to find.
Yeah.
His children are going to be the only folks that are going to be looked at in the wake of this. Kind of like after the royal family had Princess Diana pass away. Everybody started looking at what are the princes going to do, right? So it to me, it's very much, I understand she's upset. Yes, she literally just lost her husband. That sucks. That is,
yeah. And was she there? Is that what I heard?
So were his kids.
No, his kids weren't. She said
no. People are saying they were there, but I don't think that's the truth. I don't know about her.
Yeah,
I mean, so I'm sure she saw. I'm sure she saw what happened. I will say that, like, I don't know that I would comport myself really well. Now,
and to be fair, I want you to. What she said is easily interpreted as a call to violence because of what else has been being said. It also can just be her redoubling down on just being a horrible conservative.
Yeah, and that's
it was
more
inflammatory
what it was.
language about like igniting fires with.
Yeah, you have no idea what you've unleashed.
Yes. Yeah,
I will say, like,
because of what else was going on, it sounds like a violent thing in context of everything else. It could also be, if it wasn't in that context, it's not her fault that everything else was falling to shit.
Okay,
right. And I will say that also, I think we need to potentially depending on what all that is, give her some grace in that.
I agree.
Because I think that like arguably, if you chose your word, like you have no idea what you've unleashed. If that is not meant in the terrible way, the violent way, the scary way, she may not have it may not have like crossed her mind, because like she might have been.
She was talking about his mission earlier, so she could just mean we're going to be more.
That's kind of
more horror. I mean, we're just going to be more of us
clip.
being horrible to people all the time, because that's what we do. We want to be horrible to people, and now we're going to be even more horrible. She may not have been violent. She may have just been, just more horrible the way they've been, to incite violence in others, because that's his mission.
Yes, I agree. But speaking of extremists, in many situations, mentally unwell individuals, it comes down to interpretation, not intent. So even if she, as innocent as can be, did not intend it.
Yeah, but by that logic, no one can speak ever, because anyone can take something. By the way you just said it, anyone can react badly to anything innocent. So
by that logic,
and this is not a sliding scale. But I'm upset that my husband is dead isn't going to make the same kind of.
I don't know. John Hinckley shot Ronald Reagan because he thought Jodie Foster would want him to.
Yep,
that's a taxi driver,
and
not her fault.
And Mark, the guy that killed Lennon. I'm sorry, I'm spaced. Mark
Chapman.
He, are we going to blame Catcher
John Lennon
in the
shouldn't
Rye?
have been so lovable.
No.
Okay. So I think that is. I'm not saying I understand what you're saying, Alex, but like I think if in a moment of true terrible grief, which
very clearly was happening, she was in his studio. Come on.
Luckily, none of us have had to endure what she had to endure. If you get sloppy with your language and it is taken in a now, I can see how someone could interpret it that way, but I can also see very much the opposite. So I want to give like that, but I just think like that is not on her if she didn't intend that, and if she doesn't do anything to
I'd say it's not
double down on that
for one double down one issue, saying it poorly once. If she were to continue rephrasing it, when people said, you're going to cause violence, and they keep doing it, that's a different. It's kind of like harassment. Asking someone out once is not harassment. Asking them out 35 times is harassment.
I can see there's some culpability to this. There's some responsibility to what you say and how you say it. You bear responsibility when you address the public. You just do.
I agree, but I also think there is a level to which like it's different. Like if right now one of us said something, none of us is in that same state of mind that she is, and she probably was expected to address people to some extent. You know what I mean? Like so, like she may, I don't know anything about her, so I don't know if she's a good person. I don't want to but I also don't want to just assume she's a bad person. So, so anyway, so my point being, like, if there are plenty of occasions in which somebody might slip up and say something terrible, and I'll be like, "Hey, you fucking said something terrible." But I think that in the context of everything that's going on here, we need to wait for her to show us more evidence that she's being terrible.
And frankly, I'll give her a pass on being terrible for 2 months.
Yeah, no,
in certain ways, for sure.
Of PTSD. I mean, frankly.
For sure.
However,
in certain ways, yeah. I mean, she can't go pull a gun on somebody, but if she,
Yeah, I mean, I get that she's not in a good place, and I'm going to choose her words carefully.
It's and to incite further. Keep in mind, a lot of our current administration are media people. So, Charlie included, they are very apt at controlling an audience.
Yeah.
She, like attracts like, Charlie was a very good speaker. He was able to get the attention and retain it of people that liked him and did not like him. So doubt she's far behind in the way she can control an audience perception. So
okay, Bill and Hillary.
Perfect example. Yes, perfect example.
No, I'm disproving you with my perfect example. Bill is, I mean, I never really liked Bill because I was raised conservative, and that hasn't fully washed off in that in stuff that back then.
He
but
was
like,
charismatic.
He's charismatic.
I'm serious.
Hillary's not charismatic.
No, she's so like this. She's so really like not. Good point. Okay.
She's arguably more or as good
she's on really
paper
not
as
charismatic while campaigning. Like her on talk shows after she lost, she was completely charismatic.
Sure. This is true.
Like, and a lot of politicians fall into that trap. Well, that's one of the things that Bill did well was he was himself all the time, so he was likable. When so many politicians play the role of the candidate,
right?
That's not how you win.
So when she, not when, as time goes on, and she starts doing the media circuit, she's still a content creator here. I understand she lost her husband. That's huge. But she is still a content creator. So this individual is going to need to balance doing the right thing by her family, doing the right thing by her party, faith, whatever, and then doing the right thing by all of these, to her, unknown individuals that see her as now this queen of martyrdom of, as it has been said, the radical individuals who murdered her husband. And I will completely agree that, yeah, there are going to be some scenarios where she's in a grief situation. Yeah, she might say some kind of polarizing stuff. I would. I said some polarizing stuff and my husband didn't get shot. And that's why my wife didn't let me leave the house for 2 days. But it was, and you all saw what I was about to do, and it was funny. My wife stopped me because she actually looked up that it was a crime to do that.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I was like, the second you texted, I was like, "That's a crime. Don't do that." And let's not even explain what you were trying.
I know
what
that's why I didn't either. Doing. That's why I didn't either. So in this kind of situation, I'm going to give her some grace, but she's an adult. She knows what she's doing. Just full stop. Because she could have been up there selling me something on HSN and been just as passionate about it, and I probably would have bought 5 bottles. So it's that same. She can conduct herself just as her husband did, in a charming, in a charismatic, in a passionate way, because she has something to be passionate about, the loss of a family. But then at the same time, a week or two down the road, if you're on OAN and you're still flapping your gums about it in the same way, it's going to be a different situation and how I feel about how you're handling this.
So one thing about like the handling herself well in that speech, like, I don't know about you and your mental health as far as what I'm about to say, but I know from my perspective, I have been very depressed and very feeling non-functional, and then I get brought to a social thing and I gotta turn it on. And I just turn it on, but I'm not like feeling better. Eventually it may override and make me feel better, but I think there are certain things we have, like certain things that kind of are muscle memory. So if she was able to publicly speak, I don't know that necessarily speaks to she's better than we thought, as much as it might speak to she's been trained well enough that this is not to say that she's using the right words, but she's keeping the tones and the inflections right. And so that's why I think like we need to just give her a chance.
I agree.
To either be shitty or good or middle of the road or whatever.
I think the left needs to give the right time to grieve over him.
Absolutely.
There's protests for him and vigils and stuff like that, and protests but vigils, and people shouldn't be counter protesting it. Like,
no,
you have the right to, free speech, blah blah. But you know what? Let them have their moment. Let them deal with it. For some of them, it's painful, and I don't like them. And I'm not saying I care how much pain they're in when they don't care how much pain we're in. but we can be the bigger people and let them have their moment to grieve.
Agreed.
Especially her, but all of them. Let them have their moment to grieve.
Yes, and I've said it before.
Not that they wanted to give us any moment to grieve when Paul Pelosi was hurt, or when lawmakers are murdered by Republicans.
Children.
They don't care.
George
Children,
Floyd,
they don't care. And I get it, but we're the ones who, while our empathy has been strained, and we are running out of empathy for anyone who is on the other side, we don't have unlimited things. We should actively exercise it and let them process rather than make it a confrontational time.
Yes, because you're sure not gonna. Well, you're sure not gonna attract. What is it? You're not gonna attract any flies
with vinegar.
Correct. So my belief, and I've said it on this podcast before, is I don't have to like the decisions you're going to make, but I'm going to vote, act, and carry myself in a way that lets you make them, because I am privileged enough to be in a country where we still have those abilities. So I don't like the decisions you're going to make, but I'm going to vote and act in a way that's going to let you make them. Because I wouldn't expect or want you to push on mine. And the same way Matthew was just saying, giving them the grace and time may hope that they become a more aware or empathetic individual. I'm not saying they dye their hair blue and go on a rally, but at the same time, I would believe that you and I, we've spoken about individuals in our families and in our communities who, when that thing happens to them, is when their entire worldview changed on a said set of morals or standards. So when their child loses their life or becomes injured in a shooting, it becomes a different situation. When their child is no longer a standard sexuality, whatever it may be, because they love that person so much, their understanding of that situation changes. I want
or they kick
those
them out of the house.
It was really good to have.
True.
This was a good episode for you to be on, Alex, because you're kind of like speaking conservative from a liberal standpoint. Blue-haired liberals, standard sexual orientation.
Well, said I'm trying to be good about it and censor myself a little bit.
The reason I think that we should let them grieve is not because I give a shit about them again, because
no,
they don't
agreed.
deserve care. It's because I don't think pouring gasoline on the fire is the way to put out the fire.
It makes me more fearful. I'm so serious. Like, I get more fearful if I think I'm just going to go poke the nest. Like, why would I do that?
I think it's okay to put conversations out there. Like, I'm not saying anything. Like, the people who are sharing Charlie Kirk's horrible racist quotes of what he has said and what he has done and sexist and ableist and every other is, that's fine. I'm just saying, don't go counter protest. Don't go into their spaces. Let them have their spaces, but want to be filling Blue Sky with it, filling Threads with it, filling Facebook with it. People are getting fired for sharing too much. So it's also counterproductive to do it when your emotions are raw and you go further than, not further than is justified emotionally, but further than is smart effectively. Because we know we live in a cancel culture that the right says is only against them until they get to wield it, and then it's perfectly justified. But to be fair, we are very happy when people who say horrible, racist, mean things lose their jobs over it. If people are going to say things, even if we feel they're justified, it's legally the same position. You shouldn't say, well, because I agree with it, they shouldn't have lost their job.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's a great time to be unemployed.
I wrote this in the notes, and I don't know if you saw it,
Matthew. Retired. No,
I wrote this is a way that I'm definitely. I wrote that this is a way I'm definitely hypocritical because, like, I was happy when the tiki torchers lost their jobs, and I don't feel like these. But I also recognize that, like, I recognize that that's hypocritical, and that you're correct when you just said.
I don't think it's hypocritical to say I don't think this was justified, but I think that was justified because what the content did changes is not hypocritical to say being a racist is grounds for firing. Calling out that someone is a racist shouldn't be. I just meant legally to say that do they have the right to fire you? They have the same right. Morally and ethically, maybe not. But legally,
true.
They have the same right. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I agree that they should be fired for it.
Yeah.
But I can't argue that they shouldn't be allowed to do that when I was perfectly fine with the Nazi propaganda sharing woman on Mandalorian losing her job. Fine with that.
Yeah.
So you have, it doesn't mean I'm fine with someone losing their job for having correct values, but I have to be equally accepting of the legal position that a boss who is scum has the right, or a person who's just saying, I don't want it to blow back on my company. I agree with you actually, but I don't want it to blow back on my company. I think it's fine that you do that, but you can't do it and be associated with us.
Yeah,
but I do feel it's hypocritical of companies who tell people they have to have, like, okay, I'm not saying one of my old companies ever fired anyone for what they did for this. Not honest, sound like I'm saying that, but one of my old companies said, hey, if you ever talk about business things in your social media, like, you're allowed to, it's your life, talk about things in the industry, whatever, you have to have in your profile, my views are my views alone, not views of the company, just to point it out. And then I think if you fire someone for their social media posts while they have that in their profile that you told them to put there, that seems unfair to tell them, like, you put that there and then you can say stuff. Though most of those companies probably also have a clause in there. If they're going to have that in their social media warnings, they probably also have, but don't be a dick. Too.
Yeah. I will say,
so I don't think it's hypocritical to disagree that people should, say people should not have been fired for this reason because this did not rise to the reason, as long as you don't say, and the company should be fined for it, because the company has the right to do it.
I grew up with a lot of practical Quakers on my mom's side of the family.
Ooh, I speak Quaker. I had a girlfriend who was a Quaker. She taught me to speak Quaker.
Nice. And
I used to say, fuck thee. And shove it up thine asshole.
Shove it up thine asshole. So and so many of the situations I remember when I would get angry, it would always be, you need to have the grace to screw up because you're never going to learn if I always tell you to do the right thing. And that very much played when I became an adolescent. I had to mess up to learn better, not just be told, like when I was a younger child, you shouldn't act that way because it's wrong. Once I became aware enough that I need to give the grace to other people to mess up, makes the bond even better. My longest term friend, she and I have had some pretty bad stuff happen between us, but in all those situations, we never treat each other poorly. We always just gave each other the grace to be stupid. And we both now can talk about it and recognize it because that's how our relationship grew. I would never want, like you were saying, Matthew, the counter protesting at a vigil, that's vile. Like, I understand
vigil. Vigil, not vile, vigil.
Vigil. I understand that you're upset. Well, yeah, so are they. Someone died. That's not cool. Someone who had no reason to no longer be a dad has now passed. Someone who was a husband. I don't care how mean of a person they were. They have a relationship for a reason. Those two are married and have children for a reason. It might be because big bearded sky person said so, but they still did and they still want to. So give them the grace to grieve and then turn up the heat and see how they act. I see no issue with that.
Yeah. I want to go back real quick to talking shit on social media, though. People talking shit on social media. So
let me go make a post.
I agree with everything we've said so far, but I will say that my own policy for a while now has been, if I see shit that I don't like getting fed to me algorithmically, I just tell the algorithm, like, do not show me this account, do not, and I never report it. I don't think I've seen anything that rises to the occasion of reporting anyway, but I don't think that anything breaking terms of service on any of these things, but I'm constantly going in because I like a lot of stand-up stuff and I like edgy stand-up stuff. So I'll see Anthony Jeselnik or whatever. because of that, the algorithm doesn't know the difference between Anthony Jeselnik and a guy being like, like, so raping is fun, right? Or whatever, like those, like comedian, like edgelord comedians say.
The difference, but they don't understand a fine comedian who uses it like a scalpel versus someone using it like a shotgun.
Right. So I will say, like, don't show me this person, but keep, like, so I'm doing that constantly, and it doesn't bother me if on the left if people are doing that to us on the left, like if someone's like, oh, this guy, like I've had family members unfriend me on social media because they think what I post is obnoxious.
Oh,
I don't think it's risen to the situation where they've been like too horrified, but they're like, he's obnoxious. And like, so like, I think that's a completely justifiable way of handling is like with free speech is I don't have to listen to it. You get to say it. I don't have to listen to it. And I think that's something that like right now with posting shit about, like people's names, if they said shit that you didn't like onto a list, no, just add them to your I don't want this list, like that's on your algorithm.
So I have a childhood friend who is a Trump fan that I can't bear to just cut off completely, but I unfollowed him on Facebook. We're still friends on Facebook, but I unfollowed him, so I don't see any of his posts. Like I don't know if I don't go look, I don't know what he does and things, and I'm like, that's fine. I see his sister's posts, and she is nice. I know how the family is doing because I follow his sister.
So we talked about a month or two ago about how the three of us as political people and the way we interact with folks that we have dissenting opinions with and how we manage those relationships, it seems that we're still all in the same spot because you, Mike, you know what? I'm just going to say I don't want to see this. And then Matthew, I literally don't disagree with this person, but because I have a personal relationship with them, I just didn't follow them. And then there's me, who I will literally interact with it just to piss them off. The only time I report it is if it's against TOS because there's children on this app and it can lead to worse things. But my favorite thing to do is to find them being silly, dig into their profile, find completely conflicting information, screenshot it, and then point, is this you? And just leave it there and say very little else. And
if I had ever once had luck doing that, but or had something good come of that, I would probably, because I used to get into it all the time.
Yeah.
Matthew probably remembers because prior to the 2020 election, I was on Facebook a lot and I was posting a lot and people would like engage and it did not matter what you said or how good your point was. They wouldn't stay on topic or anything else. So I just don't want to engage.
I work for that. I get it to that point because then it's obvious that we're not having a debate or any kind of meeting of the minds. We're having a name calling. Right?
It's obvious to you. They still think they won. If they posted last, they go around and go, I destroyed this liberal.
Love it.
Because I went off topic and then called him a libtard and he didn't write anything back.
Do it again.
And the fact that they lost every point doesn't change their thought pattern.
And for me, my
But if you're enjoying it, it's fine to do it.
Yeah,
if your goal is not to change their mind, then go ahead
never
and
has
troll
been.
them back. Yeah.
Because if my goal was to change their mind, I wouldn't be doing it with a random account on a social media site. I'd be doing it in person by going to a protest or by voting in my election or by being involved in my local politics. I'm trying to actually affect an outcome there.
Yeah.
I know at no point, even if I was I don't know.
The online debate is worth it if you are very careful that what you're saying is for the audience, not the person you're talking to. Like, I'm not trying to change your mind, but people are reading this who are
correct
in a less emotional state and not as invested, and winning there is more beneficial.
Yeah, and that
and the less you can give ammo against yourself, the better. Like,
no, you
almost sound like RFK.
I have no desire not to make this person cry, but if I make this person cry, I'll look like the mean person. So I'm
how you just said that is very much my mindset. I'm not really doing this to try to change that person. It's all the other people reading it. It's all the people that I don't necessarily know.
As Mike was deconverting from religion, and you watched all like video debates and video things, and it's like in those debates they were never trying to deconvert the preacher they were debating.
Mm-mm.
They were trying to convert you who were watching the debate.
Exactly, and it had the expected outcome. Mike said,
and that's how you judge a debate, right? You don't judge a debate by did the person who is pro or con change their mind. You judge it by how much the audience changed their mind one direction or the other. The audience is the one who's always your audience. That's why we call them an audience.
Agreed. And if you want some fun full circle conversation, go watch Jubilee's Charlie Kirk Surrounded episode.
I actually think I think that Surrounded sucks, and I think
I know
really
it does,
bad.
but
I think it's actually really bad for discourse. Like
it is.
This is a new formed opinion since the Mehdi Hassan one, I think.
Yeah,
but like
I think Mehdi Hassan said that after it. That
he did. That's when it started to get traction. Is when he was like, "It's not really good for what it's meant to do, but it gets lots of views." Yeah.
And I also think that Jubilee is not interested in actually getting a good conversation. They're interested in views,
right.
And that's
it's a social media site. It's doing its very job. Let's be serious.
You get what you reward.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Jenks was good.
Speaking of social media, if you're watching us on YouTube since it's now 7:37, and you got to this point in the video in live because or because maybe you'll see an edited out version later, but you watch to this point, you owe us a like, you owe us a follow, you owe us a ring in the ding dong bell, and go ahead and feel free to comment below. Just don't get yourself in trouble. Social media still is trackable. You know how it is.
Yep.
But like you watched all this, you want to hear our opinion on other topics. You really want to hear my opinion on where it makes no sense in pictures of superheroes fighting for the Flash to be standing next to the other superheroes when he's 1,000 times faster. Why the hell is he still next to them? Beginning of the Super Friends, why is he with them? Why isn't he looking in the rearview mirror? For another time. We'll talk about it another time. But give us the like, give us the follow, subscribe.
Yep. And comments and reviews depending on what format. And then if you wanted to help
format was video. YouTube, that's the format. What are you talking about? I said if you're watching the video, that was my introduction. I don't care about what the other formats.
The audio.
Not my shit, the other formats. I don't give a crap about the other formats. The only format I care about is the YouTubes. That's the format. I'm talking to you YouTubers. The rest of you, don't even listen to me. Don't even put it in your ear holes. There's no reason they should even be in the audio version. If you did your job editing, they wouldn't even hear me talking about the YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sounds good.
All right, cool. Thanks. Buddy.
Anyway,
but if you're on patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
If you want to go on Patreon, you can help fill this map out. If you pledge high enough, this is my map with my family, and we can fill the map out with pins.
Your family's oddly shaped like a map.
No, like the pin colors. I don't know if you can see.
Your family's not shaped like a pin.
There's his wife.
Green is Sarah,
Virginia.
Orange is me,
and
it's pronounced Virginia. Anyway, we have a slew of options on Patreon. We have a $0 option, which gets you the podcast the way you would get it otherwise. We have the $1 option, which
allows you to watch it like free through Patreon, as that is your viewer of choice.
Actually, it's the way to watch it live at all.
Yeah, live.
No, not this week. It isn't. It's starting this week because remember we had to talk about.
We're testing it. They might hear this
$1
in 6 months
option.
and you've given up on letting people on YouTube watch live again.
Yeah.
Wow, giving up.
Hey,
you're saying that just because that was my idea. That's why you're just trying to make me feel bad.
$1 option is gets you the podcast on Monday instead of Friday. $3 option gets you extra spice, and $10 gets you Matthew's rant about Quicksilver or whatever another episode has for our pre-show discussion. And then I'm gonna just completely self-promote and say that if you haven't already, you should pre-order The Dinner Party, my first novel, or you could buy, or both is best.
Both is best.
Or you could buy everything I've got left, which is short stories, poems, and essays.
It's not literally everything he has left. It's most of it. It just happens to be in book form.
Yeah.
So,
but the dinner party is getting great reviews. I just got my first 5-star from a person I didn't know. I've gotten a couple from people I knew know. And if you order on my website, you'll get it ahead of the November 4th date and discounted.
I need to buy my copy so I could take it on the plane.
Yeah, they won't be here before you're going next week, probably. But I guess you could possibly rush it,
or just go over to your house.
Yeah. That's the only copy I have in the house right now. Anyway,
you'll get a prop copy because I have the only real one.
Yeah. No. There's other copies, but like I'm not keeping them in the house right now.
Right.
Although I will be like once we do, because I'm doing a couple of book fairs, and I'll be bringing copies of both books to sign and sell.
God, I remember book fairs.
I will be announcing those later. Huh?
I remember book fairs.
Not Scholastic, just this is more like a farmer's market kind of thing.
Hey, that is very liberal of you. A farmer's market book fair. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.